The clock on the wall showed 9:47 p.m. when Maya finally untied her apron and stuffed it into her locker. Her feet ached so badly she could barely feel them anymore. 12 hours of running back and forth between tables carrying heavy trays, forcing smiles at customers who barely looked at her. This was her life now, and honestly, she was too tired to even think about whether it was fair or not. She grabbed her backpack from the locker, feeling the weight of the coins and crumpled bills inside. Tips from today, $43 and some change. Not great, but not terrible either. Every penny mattered. Every single one went somewhere specific. Her mother's medication, the rent that was already 5 days late, her little brother's school supplies. There was never anything left over. Never anything for herself. See you tomorrow. Maya? Called out Tony, the night manager, as he counted the register. Yeah, see you, she replied, pushing through the back door into the cool night air. The street was quieter now. Most shops had closed. A few people wandered here and there, probably heading home just like her. Maya pulled her thin jacket tighter around her shoulders. She needed to catch the 10:15 train. It was the last one heading to her neighborhood. If she missed it, she'd have to walk for 2 hours, and she just couldn't do that tonight. Not after the kind of day she'd had. Central Station was about 15 minutes away if she walked fast. Maya checked her phone. 5:52 p.m. She'd make it. Barely, but she'd make it. Her mind wandered as she walked. Tomorrow she had to be at the diner by 6 a.m. for the breakfast shift. Then she had her evening shift at a small grocery store stocking shelves. 2 jobs, 7 days a week. When did it become like this? She used to have dreams. Real dreams. She wanted to be a nurse once. She'd even started college, taking classes at the community center. But then her father passed away suddenly and everything fell apart. Her mother got sick from the stress. Her brother was only 14 and needed someone to look after him. The money ran out fast. The dreams had to wait. Maybe forever. Maya shook her head, trying to push away those thoughts. Feeling sorry for herself wouldn't change anything. She had to keep moving. Keep working. Keep surviving. The station entrance came into view and she quickened her pace. The big glass doors slid open automatically and she stepped inside. The station was less crowded than during rush hour, but there were still plenty of people around. Business travelers with their expensive luggage. College students with backpacks covered in pins and patches. A few homeless folks sitting in corners trying to stay warm. Maya headed straight for Platform 7. Her train would arrive in about 10 minutes. She just needed to get there, find a seat, and rest her aching legs for the 30-minute ride home. But as she passed through the main waiting area, something made her stop. Or rather, someone. An old man was slumped on one of the wooden benches. He wasn't sleeping exactly. His position looked wrong, uncomfortable. His head was tilted at an odd angle and one of his arms hung limply at his side. He was wearing an expensive-looking suit, now wrinkled and disheveled. His gray hair was messy, and even from a distance, Maya could see sweat on his forehead. People walked past him. Lots of people. They glanced maybe for a second, but then kept moving. Everyone always had somewhere to be. Everyone was always in a hurry. Maya knew that feeling. She was in a hurry, too. Her train would leave in less than 10 minutes. If she stopped, if she got involved in whatever this was, she might miss it. Then she'd have to wait until morning or walk home in the dark. But something in her chest pulled tight. The man looked really unwell. What if something was seriously wrong? What if he needed help? She stood there for a moment, frozen between 2 choices. The practical choice and the right choice. Sometimes those weren't the same thing. Her feet made the decision before her brain did. She walked over to the bench. Sir, she said softly, kneeling down beside him. Sir, are you okay? The man's eyes fluttered open. They were unfocused, confused. He tried to speak, but his words came out slurred. I don't feel, he managed to say. Maya's heart started beating faster. This wasn't just someone who'd had too much to drink. This was something medical, something serious. It's okay, she said, trying to keep her voice calm even though she felt anything but calm. I'm here. I'm going to help you. Can you tell me what's wrong? The man took a shaky breath. Medication, forgot. Blood pressure. Maya understood immediately. Her mother had blood pressure problems too. She knew how dangerous it could be if someone missed their medication. When did you last take it? She asked. This morning. Feel dizzy. Chest feels tight. Maya looked around desperately. Where was station security? Where were the staff? She saw a few uniformed workers, but they were far away, dealing with other things. She made a decision. First things first. She pulled her backpack around and grabbed her water bottle. It was still half full. "Here," she said, supporting the man's head gently. "Drink some water." Small sips. He drank, his hands shaking as he held the bottle. Some color started coming back to his face, but he still looked terrible. "I'm going to call for help, okay?" Maya said, pulling out her phone. "Just stay with me. Don't try to move." She dialed emergency services, her fingers trembling. While the phone rang, she kept one hand on the man's shoulder, steadying him. 911, what's your emergency? I'm at Central Station platform area. There's an elderly man here. He's having some kind of medical episode. He forgot to take his blood pressure medication, and he's feeling dizzy and having chest tightness. The operator asked more questions. Maya answered as best she could, describing the man's symptoms, his condition. The operator said paramedics were on their way. It would be about 8 to 10 minutes. Maya heard the announcement for her train. Now boarding Platform 7, last train to the south side. She looked at the man, then at the platform entrance. She could still make it if she ran, but the man's hand had reached out and grabbed her sleeve weakly. "Please, don't leave," he whispered. Maya felt something break inside her chest, not in a bad way. In a way that made her realize some things were more important than catching a train. "I'm not going anywhere," she said firmly. "I'm staying right here with you until help arrives." The man's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you," he breathed. Maya pulled off her jacket and folded it, placing it behind his head as a cushion. She sat down on the bench beside him, continuing to talk to him softly, asking him questions to keep him conscious. What was his name? Did he live in the city? Did he have family she could call? His name was Richard. He was in town for business. His phone had died, and he'd been trying to get to his hotel when he started feeling sick. No, he didn't have anyone local to call. His assistant was back in his home state. "Well, you've got me now," Maya said with a small smile, "and I'm not leaving until I know you're safe." Through the glass, Maya watched her train pull away from the platform. The last train home, gone. It didn't matter. It couldn't matter. This man needed help, and she was the only person who'd stopped. She'd figure out the rest later. She always did. Richard's breathing started to even out a bit. Maya kept talking to him, keeping him alert. She told him about her work, her family, anything to keep him engaged. 7 minutes passed. Then 8. Finally, she heard sirens. The paramedics rushed in with their equipment, and Maya quickly explained everything she knew. They thanked her and took over, checking Richard's vital signs, asking him questions. As they prepared to move him to the stretcher, Richard reached out and caught Maya's hand. "Your name," he said, his voice stronger now. "Please, your name." "Maya," she said. "Maya Rodriguez." "Maya," he repeated like he was memorizing it. "Thank you. You saved my life tonight." Maya shook her head. Anyone would have done the same thing. But even as she said it, she knew it wasn't true. People had walked past him. Dozens of them. She was the only one who stopped. The paramedics wheeled Richard away, and Maya stood alone in the now quiet station. She looked at the clock. 10:47 p.m. The next train wouldn't come until 6 a.m. She sighed, adjusted her backpack, and started walking toward the exit. It was going to be a long night. But somehow, standing there watching the ambulance lights fade into the distance, she felt something she hadn't felt in a long time. She felt like maybe, just maybe, she'd done something that really mattered. Maya's alarm went off at 5:15 a.m. just like it did every morning. She slapped at her phone until the noise stopped, then lay there staring at the ceiling. Her entire body felt like one big bruise. Walking home last night had taken almost 3 hours. She'd gotten home past 1 a.m., collapsed onto her bed without even changing clothes, and now here she was, needing to get up and do it all over again. Her mother knocked softly on the door. "Maya, you up, Mija?" "Yeah, Mom, I'm up." She dragged herself out of bed and got ready for work. At the breakfast table, her younger brother Carlos was already eating cereal, his math textbook open beside his bowl. "You look terrible," he said, not looking up from his homework. "Thanks a lot," Maya replied, but there was no real anger in her voice. He wasn't wrong. Her mother poured her some coffee. "You got in so late last night." "What happened?" Maya explained about the man at the train station, how she'd helped him, how she'd missed her train. Her mother listened, her face showing worry and pride at the same time. "You have such a good heart, Maya," she said, touching her daughter's cheek. But please be careful. The city at night, I know, Mom, I was careful. I'm fine, but she wasn't really fine. She was exhausted. And she had another long day ahead of her. 3 days passed. 3 days of the same routine. Wake up, work some more, come home, sleep, repeat. Maya had almost forgotten about Richard and that night at the station. Almost. Sometimes she wondered if he was okay, if he'd made it to the hospital safely. But life kept moving forward and she had to move with it. On Thursday afternoon, she was wiping down tables at the diner when Tony called her over to the phone. "Someone asking for you," he said, looking puzzled. "Says it's important." Maya took the phone, confused. Nobody ever called her at work except her family, and they had her cell number. "Hello? Hello, is this Maya Rodriguez?" The voice was professional, polished. A woman's voice. "Yes, this is Maya. Miss Rodriguez, my name is Patricia Chen. I'm calling on behalf of Richard Thornton. I believe you helped him at Central Station this past Monday evening." Maya's heart skipped. "Oh, yes, is he okay? Did he recover?" "He's doing very well, thanks to you. That's actually why I'm calling. Mr. Thornton has been asking about you. He'd very much like to see you, to thank you properly. Would you be able to visit him at St. Mary's Hospital? Any time that works for you." Maya looked at the clock. She had to be at her second job by 6, but she got off here at 5. The hospital was on the way, sort of. "I could come by today after my shift here. Maybe around 5:30. That would be perfect. I'll let him know. Just ask for Richard Thornton at the reception desk. They'll direct you to his room." Maya hung up, her mind spinning. She felt relieved that Richard was okay, but also nervous. She didn't really know what to expect. The rest of her shift dragged by. Finally, 5 o'clock came. Maya clocked out, grabbed her things, and caught a bus to St. Mary's. The hospital was bigger than she'd expected. All glass and steel, modern and expensive looking. Very different from the small clinic where her mother went for checkups. At the reception desk, she gave Richard's name. The woman smiled and directed her to the 3rd floor, room 312. Maya took the elevator up, her stomach full of butterflies. What was she so nervous about? She was just visiting someone she'd helped. No big deal. But when she walked into room 312, she realized it was kind of a big deal. The room was huge. It wasn't like the shared hospital rooms she'd seen before. This was private, spacious, with a big window overlooking the city. There were flowers everywhere, expensive-looking arrangements, and medical equipment that looked brand new and high-tech. Richard was sitting up in bed looking 1,000 times better than he had at the train station. He had color in his face, his eyes were clear and alert, and he broke into a huge smile when he saw her. "Maya," he said warmly. "You came. Please come in. Sit down." A woman who'd been sitting in a chair by the window stood up. She was maybe 40, wearing a business suit, her hair pulled back neatly. "Miss Rodriguez, I'm Patricia. We spoke on the phone. Thank you so much for coming." Maya shook her hand and sat in the chair Patricia had vacated. She felt out of place in her diner uniform, her hair still smelling like grease from the kitchen. "How are you feeling?" Maya asked Richard. "Oh, I'm doing much better now. The doctors say I'll be released tomorrow. But Maya, I've been thinking about you constantly. What you did for me. I don't think you realize how important it was." Maya shrugged, uncomfortable with the attention. "I just did what anyone would do." Richard's expression became serious. No, that's not true, and I think you know it." Patricia retrieved the security footage from the station. "Over 200 people passed by me that night. 200. You were the only one who stopped. The only one who cared enough to help a stranger." Maya didn't know what to say to that. It made her sad, honestly, thinking about all those people just walking past someone who needed help. The doctors told me that if I'd been alone much longer, if my blood pressure had continued to drop, I could have had a stroke. Or worse. "You saved my life, Maya, quite literally." "I'm just glad you're okay," Maya said softly. Richard studied her for a moment. "Patricia, could you give us a few minutes?" Patricia nodded and left the room, closing the door behind her. "Maya," Richard said gently, "tell me about yourself. What do you do? What's your life like?" Maya hesitated. She didn't usually talk about her struggles with strangers. Pride kept her quiet most of the time. But something about Richard's kind face, his genuine interest, made her open up. She told him about her 2 jobs, about her father dying 3 years ago and how everything changed after that. About her mother's illness, the medical bills that never seemed to stop coming. About Carlos and how smart he was, how he deserved better than what they could give him. About her own dream of becoming a nurse, the dream she'd had to put on hold indefinitely. Richard listened without interrupting. Really listened. Not the way people usually did, checking their phones or looking distracted. He gave her his full attention, and his eyes grew sadder and sadder as she spoke. When she finished, there was a long silence. "You're 23 years old," Richard finally said. "You should be in school. You should be building your future, not working yourself to exhaustion just to survive." Maya felt defensive suddenly. "I do what I have to do. My family needs me, I know. I know you do. And that's incredibly admirable. But Maya, what you're doing isn't sustainable. You're going to burn out. And then what happens to your family?" She knew he was right. She'd thought the same thing herself in her darkest moments. But what choice did she have? "I don't have any other options," she said quietly. Richard nodded slowly. "What if you did? What if there was another way?" Maya looked at him confused. "I want to help you," Richard said. "Not charity. I'm not offering charity, but I'd like to give you an opportunity. A real one." "I don't understand." Richard shifted in his bed, getting more comfortable. "I own a company. Thornton Industries. We're in healthcare, actually. Medical equipment, supplies, research. We have about 5,000 employees across the country." Maya's eyes widened. She might not have known his name before, but she'd heard of Thornton Industries. Everyone had. It was one of the biggest companies in the state. "I'm always looking for good people," Richard continued. "People with character, integrity, work ethic. You've demonstrated all of those things. I'd like to offer you a position with my company." Maya felt like she couldn't breathe. "Mr. Thornton, I don't have the qualifications for that kind of job. I didn't finish college. I don't have any special skills. You have the most important skills. You're reliable, you're compassionate, you're hardworking. The rest can be taught. I'm thinking of an administrative position, entry level, in our corporate office. The salary would be $60,000 a year with full benefits. Health insurance that would cover your mother as a dependent, and we have a tuition reimbursement program. If you wanted to go back to school, finish your nursing degree, the company would pay for it." Maya felt tears spring to her eyes. $60,000? That was more than she made at both her jobs combined. With health insurance? She could barely process what he was saying. "Why?" she whispered. "Why would you do this for me?" Richard's eyes grew distant. "My wife passed away 5 years ago. Cancer. She was a lot like you, actually. Always helping people, always putting others first. The day before she died, she made me promise something. She said, 'Richard, you've made all this money, built this company, but none of that matters if you don't use it to help people. When you see someone who needs a hand up, give it to them.' I've been trying to honor that promise ever since." He refocused on Maya. "You remind me so much of her. And I meant what I said at the station. You saved my life. I'd like to return the favor if you'll let me." Maya was crying now, unable to stop the tears. "I don't know what to say. Say you'll think about it. Patricia will give you all the details before you leave. You don't have to decide right now. Talk it over with your family. Take your time." Maya nodded, wiping her eyes. "Thank you. Thank you so much." They talked for a while longer. Richard told her about his company, about what the job would entail. He was honest that it would be real work, not just a token position. She'd have responsibilities, expectations, but he believed she could handle it. When Maya finally left the hospital, Patricia was waiting outside with a folder containing all the job information, salary details, and benefits package. It was almost too much to take in. Maya walked to her evening shift in a daze. She could barely focus on stocking shelves. Her mind kept going over everything Richard had said. Was this really happening? Could her life really change this dramatically? That night at home, she showed her mother and Carlos all the papers Patricia had given her. They read through everything together, hardly believing what they were seeing. "Misha, this is amazing," her mother said, tears in her eyes. "This is an answer to prayer." But Maya felt conflicted. "Is it though? I mean, I don't want charity. I want to earn what I get." Carlos looked at her like she was crazy. "Maya, he's offering you a real job. With real responsibilities. How is that charity?" "But I only got the job because I helped him." Her mother took her hand. "And you helped him because that's who you are." "Good things can come from being a good person, Maya. That doesn't make them less deserved." Maya lay awake most of the night thinking. Part of her wanted to refuse. Pride made her want to say she could make it on her own. But the practical part of her, the part that was so tired of struggling, knew this was a lifeline. Not just for her, but for her whole family. By morning, she'd made her decision. She called Patricia and accepted the position. She'd start in 2 weeks, giving her time to quit her current jobs properly. When she told Tony at the diner that she was leaving, he was happy for her, even though he'd miss her. Same with her manager at the grocery store. Those 2 weeks passed in a blur of nervous anticipation. Maya bought one professional outfit with some of her saved tips, a simple dress and blazer that she could wear to the office. She felt silly buying it, spending money they needed on clothes. But her mother insisted, "You need to look the part, mija." The night before her first day, Maya couldn't sleep at all. What if she messed up? What if she wasn't good enough? What if everyone realized she didn't belong there? But when she walked into Thornton Industries that first morning, Patricia was there to greet her with a warm smile. She showed Maya to her desk, introduced her to the team, explained her duties. Everyone was kind and welcoming. And Maya realized something. Maybe she did deserve this. Maybe kindness really did come back around. Maybe, just maybe, her life was finally about to change. 6 months. That's how long it had been since Maya walked through the doors of Thornton Industries for the first time. 6 months that felt like a lifetime and like yesterday all at once. She still remembered that first day. How nervous she'd been. How out of place she'd felt in her one professional outfit. Surrounded by people in expensive suits carrying fancy briefcases, she'd been sure everyone could tell she didn't belong. That they'd see right through her. But something funny happened. She was good at her job. Really good. Her role was supporting the administrative team in the healthcare division. She organized meetings, managed schedules, handled correspondence, coordinated between different departments. It turned out that all those years of juggling 2 jobs, keeping track of bills and appointments and medications for her mother, taking care of Carlos while managing her own responsibilities, all of that had taught her skills she didn't even know she had. She was organized, efficient, detail-oriented, and hardworking. Her supervisor, Helen, was a woman in her 50s who'd been with the company for 20 years. At first, Maya worried Helen would resent her, knowing she'd gotten the job through Richard. But Helen judged people on their work, nothing else. "You're doing great, Maya," Helen told her after the first month. "Really great. You're one of the best assistants I've had." Maya had gone home that day feeling like she could float. Someone believed in her. Someone saw her value. The money changed everything for her family. Everything. Her mother's health improved dramatically once she could afford better medication and regular doctor visits. The stress of not being able to pay bills melted away. They weren't rich by any means, but they weren't drowning anymore either. They could breathe. Carlos was thriving too. He'd joined the robotics club at school, something he never could have done before because they couldn't afford the fees. He came home every day excited about what he was learning. And Maya? She'd enrolled in online nursing classes through the community college. The company's tuition reimbursement program covered everything. She took classes 2 evenings a week and on Saturdays. It was hard balancing work and school, but it was a different kind of hard than before. This hard had a purpose. This hard was building towards something. She didn't see Richard much. He worked on the executive floor, several levels above her. Sometimes she'd spot him in the lobby or the cafeteria. He always smiled and waved, asked how she was doing, but he never made a big deal about their connection. He treated her like any other employee, which she appreciated. She didn't want special treatment. She wanted to earn her place here. Patricia checked in with her regularly, though. They'd grab coffee sometimes, and Patricia became something of a mentor. She'd worked her way up from an assistant position herself, and she gave Maya advice about navigating corporate life, about continuing her education, about believing in herself. "You have something special, Maya," Patricia told her one afternoon over coffee. "You see things other people miss. You care about details. Don't lose that." But it was a random Tuesday in her 6th month when everything shifted again. Maya was at her desk, organizing files for an upcoming board meeting. The office was busy, people rushing around preparing for the meeting that afternoon. It was a big one. The board only met quarterly, and this time they were making some major decisions about company direction. Her phone rang. "Internal line, this is Maya. Maya, it's Patricia. Can you come up to Mr. Thornton's office? He'd like to speak with you." Maya's heart immediately started racing. In 6 months, she'd never been called to Richard's office, never. Was something wrong? Had she messed something up? Sure, of course. I'll be right there. She saved her work, smoothed down her dress, and tried to calm her nerves. The elevator ride to the executive floor felt like it took forever. When the doors opened, Patricia was there waiting. "Don't look so worried," Patricia said with a smile. "It's nothing bad. He just wants to talk to you." But Maya couldn't help being nervous. Patricia led her through the executive suite. Everything up here was nicer. Thicker carpets, better furniture, bigger windows. They stopped at a set of double doors at the end of the hallway. Patricia knocked once and opened them. Richard's office was huge. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the entire city. His desk was massive but neat, everything organized and in its place. Richard himself was standing by the windows, hands in his pockets, looking out at the view. "Maya's here," Patricia said. Richard turned and smiled. "Maya, thank you for coming up. Please sit down. Patricia, could you give us some time?" Patricia nodded and left, closing the doors behind her. Maya sat in one of the leather chairs facing Richard's desk. He didn't sit behind the desk, though. Instead, he pulled another chair around and sat across from her, less formal. "How are you?" he asked. "Really? How's it going?" "Really good," Maya said honestly. "I love working here. My family is doing so much better. I'm taking classes. Everything you've done for us, I can't thank you enough." Richard waved a hand. "You're earning every bit of it. Helen tells me you're one of her best people. That's all you, Maya. Your work ethic, your dedication. I'm trying my best, I know you are. And that's actually why I wanted to talk to you." He leaned forward, his expression becoming more serious. "Maya, I need to tell you something about myself. About why I really started this company." Maya waited, curious. "I wasn't always wealthy," Richard began. "I grew up poor. Really poor. My father was a factory worker. My mother cleaned houses. We lived in a tiny apartment. 5 of us kids sharing 2 bedrooms. There were times we didn't have enough food. Times the electricity got shut off because we couldn't pay the bill." Maya listened, surprised. Richard seemed so comfortable in this world of wealth and business. She'd assumed he'd always been part of it. "I was smart, though," he continued. "And I was lucky. I had a teacher in high school who saw potential in me. She helped me get a scholarship to college. First person in my family to go. I studied engineering, worked 3 jobs to pay for what the scholarship didn't cover. After graduation, I got a job with a medical equipment company. Started at the bottom, worked my way up." He paused, looking out the window again. "I met my wife, Catherine, when I was 30. She worked at a hospital as a nurse. She was the kindest person I'd ever met. She saw good in everyone. We got married. I started my own company. Things went well. Better than well. We became wealthy beyond anything I'd imagined as a kid." Richard's voice got softer. "Catherine never let me forget where I came from. She'd volunteer at free clinics, organize donation drives, help anyone who needed it. She used to say that success meant nothing if you didn't use it to lift others up. When she got sick, when we knew she wasn't going to make it, she made me promise I'd continue that work. That I'd find ways to help people who were where I used to be." "Where you used to be?" Maya felt her throat getting tight. "I've been trying to honor that promise," Richard said. "I donate to charities, fund scholarships, support community programs. But it always felt distant, you know? Writing checks is easy. It doesn't require anything from you." "Not really." He turned back to Maya. "Then I met you, and you reminded me so much of Catherine. That same kindness, that same instinct to help even when it cost you something. You missed your train that night, Maya. You had to walk home for hours. You were exhausted and broke, and you still stopped to help a stranger. That kind of character is rare." "I just did what felt right," Maya said quietly. "Exactly. And that's the point. It felt right to you. Most people, it wouldn't even occur to them. They've learned to look away, to not get involved." He leaned back in his chair. "After I recovered, after I offered you this job, I started thinking, what if there was a better way to honor Catherine's memory? What if instead of just writing checks, I could create something more direct, something that would help people like you, people with potential and character who just need a chance?" Maya wasn't sure where this was going, but she felt like something important was about to happen. "I want to start a foundation," Richard said. "A scholarship foundation specifically for young people from low-income backgrounds who want to pursue careers in healthcare. Nursing, medical technology, hospital administration, whatever. We'd cover everything. Full tuition, living expenses, books, even a stipend for personal costs. And more than that, we'd provide mentorship, internship opportunities, job placement after graduation. Maya's eyes widened. That's incredible. I want you to help me build it, Richard said simply. Maya stared at him. What? I want you to be part of this. To help me design the program, select the candidates, run the foundation. You understand what it's like to struggle, to have dreams you can't pursue because of circumstances beyond your control. You'd know better than anyone what these students need. But I'm just an administrative assistant. I don't have experience with anything like this. You're not just anything, Maya. You're smart, compassionate, organized, and you understand the population we're trying to serve. That's more valuable than any MBA. He pulled out a folder from his desk and handed it to her. I want to offer you a new position. Program coordinator for the foundation. You'd continue your nursing classes, we'd adjust your schedule to accommodate that. But you'd also work part-time developing this foundation. Better salary, more responsibility, more impact. Maya opened the folder. The salary listed made her dizzy. It was twice what she was making now. The job description outlined everything Richard had mentioned. This wasn't just a job, this was a career. A real career with meaning and purpose. I don't know if I can do this, she whispered. I know you can, Richard said firmly. 6 months ago you didn't think you could handle working here. Look at you now. You're excelling. Maya, you've spent your whole life surviving. Don't you want to do more than survive? Don't you want to thrive? And more than that, don't you want to help others do the same? Maya thought about herself 2 years ago, sitting in a community college classroom dreaming about becoming a nurse. She thought about the moment she'd had to drop out, the way her dreams had crumbled. What if someone had offered her a program like this? How different would her life have been? When would this start? She asked. We're announcing it at today's board meeting. If you say yes, you'd transition into the role starting next month. We'd hire someone to take over your current position. You'd work with me and Patricia to get the foundation launched. First group of scholarships would go out next fall. Maya's mind was spinning. This was overwhelming. Incredible, but overwhelming. Can I think about it? Not for long, just a day or two? Of course. Take the time you need. Talk to your family. But Maya? He waited until she met his eyes. You deserve this. Not because I owe you for helping me that night, but because you've proven your worth every single day since. You're the kind of person who should be given opportunities, and you're the kind of person who will use those opportunities to help others. That's why I want you for this. Maya left Richard's office in a daze. She somehow made it through the rest of the day, but she barely remembered any of it. Her mind was elsewhere, thinking about the foundation, the position, the possibilities. That evening, she told her mother and Carlos everything. They sat at their small kitchen table, the job offer spread out in front of them. This is amazing, Maya, Carlos said. You have to say yes. Her mother was quieter, studying the papers carefully. Mija, this is a big responsibility. Are you ready for this? Maya thought about that question. Was she ready? Maybe not, but would she ever feel completely ready? I don't know if I'm ready, she said honestly, but I want to do it. I want to help other people the way Mr. Thornton helped me. And maybe it's okay to not be completely ready. Maybe you just have to start and figure it out as you go. Her mother smiled, tears in her eyes. When did you get so wise? I learned from the best, Maya said, squeezing her mother's hand. The next morning, Maya went straight to Patricia's office before she could talk herself out of it. I want to do it, she said. I want to take the position. Patricia's face lit up. I'm so glad. Richard will be thrilled. Welcome to the team, Maya. Let's change some lives. And just like that, Maya's life shifted again. Not just shifted, transformed. She wasn't just surviving anymore. She wasn't just getting by. She was building something. Something that mattered. Something that would last. The foundation became real faster than Maya thought possible. What started as an idea in Richard's office transformed into meetings, plans, paperwork, and real action within weeks. Maya found herself in a completely different world now. She spent her mornings in meetings with lawyers setting up the legal structure of the foundation. Her afternoons were dedicated to working with financial advisors, determining how much money they could allocate to scholarships each year. And her evenings? Those were for her nursing classes, which she refused to quit. If anything, being part of this foundation made her more determined to finish her degree. How could she help future nurses if she hadn't walked that path herself? The first real decision they had to make was the name. Richard insisted on including Maya's name in it, but she pushed back hard. It should be named after your wife, Maya argued. They were in a conference room, just her, Richard, and Patricia. She's the one who inspired all of this. Her values, her compassion. That's what this foundation represents. Richard looked at her thoughtfully. Catherine would have liked you very much. But Maya, you're not just some random employee I'm putting on this project. You saved my life. And more than that, you represent exactly what this foundation is about. Someone with character and potential who just needed a chance. They went back and forth for days. Finally, they compromised. The Catherine Thornton Foundation for Healthcare Education. But Maya would be listed as co-founder and program director. She still felt uncomfortable with that level of recognition, but Richard wouldn't budge. The next challenge was figuring out the selection criteria. Who would qualify? How would they choose recipients? This was where Maya's input became crucial. Test scores and grades matter, she said during one planning meeting. But they shouldn't be everything. Some of the smartest, most capable people I know never did great in school because they were too busy working, taking care of family, dealing with life. We need to look at the whole person. Patricia nodded, taking notes. What else? Character, Maya said firmly. Work ethic. You can teach someone skills, but you can't teach someone to care, to show up, to push through when things get hard. She paused, thinking about her own journey. And we should require letters of recommendation from non-family members. Teachers, employers, volunteer coordinators, people who've seen them in action. They also decided to include interviews in the selection process. Maya insisted on this. You can't know someone from paper, she explained. You need to talk to them, hear their story, see who they are. Richard agreed. You'll lead the interview committee. Me? Maya's voice went up. I've never interviewed anyone in my life. Then you'll learn, Richard said with a smile. Besides, you know what we're looking for better than anyone. You are what we're looking for. Creating the application was another huge task. They worked with education consultants to design it properly. It needed to be thorough enough to get real information, but not so complicated that it would discourage people from applying. Maya thought about herself a few years ago. If this foundation had existed then, would she have applied? What would have stopped her? Pride, probably. Feeling like she didn't deserve help. Thinking there must be people more worthy than her. So they made sure the application materials emphasized something important. This wasn't charity. This was investment. Investment in people who would go on to serve their communities, help others, make healthcare better for everyone. They were looking for people who would pay it forward. 4 months after that conversation in Richard's office, they were ready to announce the foundation publicly and open applications. They planned a press conference at the company headquarters. Local news stations came. Newspaper reporters, education bloggers. Richard gave the main speech talking about his wife, about the importance of education, about giving opportunities to those who might not otherwise have them. Then he introduced Maya. None of this would exist without Maya Rodriguez, he said. She's the heart of this foundation. She understands our mission because she's lived it. Maya stepped up to the microphone, her hands shaking. She'd never spoken in front of cameras before. Never imagined she'd be in a position like this. A year ago, she began, her voice not as steady as she'd like. I was working 2 jobs just to keep my family afloat. I had dreams of becoming a nurse, but those dreams felt impossible. Not because I wasn't capable, but because I couldn't afford to pursue them. I know what it's like to have potential, but no path forward. She looked out at the crowd. Some faces were sympathetic. Others were just waiting for the news story. But she kept going. This foundation isn't about pity. It's about recognizing that there are brilliant, hard-working, compassionate people everywhere who just need a chance. If you're watching this and you think that might be you, I want you to know something. You deserve this chance. Your circumstances don't define your worth. Your potential is real, and we're here to help you reach it. After the press conference, applications started coming in. First a trickle, then a flood. Within 2 weeks, they had over 500 applications. By the deadline 2 months later, they had more than 3,000. Maya read every single one. Well, not alone. They'd put together a review committee, but Maya insisted on being involved in every stage of the process. These weren't just applications to her. They were stories, lives, dreams. There was Diego, 19, whose parents were migrant farm workers. He'd been working in the field since he was 12. but had taught himself biology from library books. He wanted to be a doctor. There was Nina, 25, a single mother of two who'd been working as a medical receptionist for 7 years. She was smart enough to be a nurse but could never afford the schooling. There was Tyrell, 21, who'd grown up in foster care. He'd aged out of the system at 18 with nothing, but had been volunteering at a free clinic for 3 years. He dreamed of being a physician's assistant. Reading their stories broke Maya's heart and filled it at the same time. Every single one of these people deserved help. But they only had funding for 20 scholarships in the first year. The selection process was brutal. They narrowed 3,000 applications down to 100 finalists. Those 100 were invited for interviews. Maya conducted many of the interviews herself, usually with one other committee member present. She asked questions about their backgrounds, their goals, their understanding of healthcare, their commitment to serving others, but mostly, she listened to their stories. One interview stuck with her particularly, a young woman named Alicia, 22 years old. She'd been homeless for 6 months after her family kicked her out. She'd been sleeping in her car, showering at truck stops, but never missed a shift at her job as a home health aide. She wanted to be a registered nurse specializing in geriatric care. Why geriatric care? Maya asked, Alicia's eyes filled with tears. Because old people are invisible. Society throws them away. I see it every day in my work. They deserve dignity. They deserve someone who actually cares. I want to be that person. Maya had to take a moment to compose herself after that interview. Alicia was everything this foundation was meant to support. The final selections took weeks. The committee met every day, debating, discussing, sometimes arguing. Everyone had their favorites. Everyone had people they wanted to help. Finally, they had their 20. 20 recipients for the first year. 20 lives that were about to change forever. Maya insisted on calling each one personally to tell them they'd been selected. Richard thought they should send formal letters, but Maya disagreed. These people have been disappointed so many times, she said. They've applied for help and been rejected or put on waiting lists or told they're not quite good enough. They need to hear a human voice telling them yes, telling them they made it. So she made the calls. 20 phone calls that ranged from 5 minutes to half an hour. Some people cried. Some were speechless. Some screamed with joy. One young man had to call her back because he dropped his phone in shock and it broke. Alicia, the young woman who'd been homeless, didn't believe her at first. Is this real? She kept asking. This is really real? You're really going to pay for everything? Everything, Maya confirmed. Tuition, books, housing, food, even a monthly stipend for personal expenses. You can quit one of your jobs if you need to. Focus on school, Alicia sobbed. I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe someone actually cares. We care, Maya said softly. And Alicia? You're going to be an amazing nurse. I know it. After all 20 calls were made, Maya sat in her office alone for a while. It was late evening. Most people had gone home. She looked at the list of names on her computer screen. 20 people whose lives were about to transform. 20 people who would go on to help countless others in their careers. She thought about herself a year ago. Exhausted, hopeless, seeing no way forward. If someone had told her then that she'd be here now doing this work, she never would have believed them. Her phone buzzed. A text from Richard. How'd the calls go? They went perfectly, she typed back. 20 dreams just became possible. 21. He responded. Don't forget yourself. Maya smiled at that. He was right. Her own dream was happening too. She was only a few months away from finishing her nursing degree. She'd done it. Somehow balancing everything, she'd actually done it. But the real work was just beginning. The first cohort of scholars would start their programs in the fall. Maya was already planning orientation sessions, mentorship programs, support groups. She wanted to make sure every single one of them succeeded. Not just graduated, but thrived. She also had bigger dreams for the foundation. 20 scholarships was just the beginning. Richard had already committed to increasing that number each year. By year 5, they hoped to be supporting 100 students at a time. And Maya had another idea she'd been thinking about. What if they didn't just support students in healthcare? What if they eventually expanded to other fields? Education, social work, counseling. Professions where compassion mattered as much as skill. She'd pitched this to Richard the previous week. His response? Let's get this first program running smoothly. Then we'll talk expansion. But yes, Maya, I love where your head is at. Walking to her car that night, Maya paused in the parking lot and looked back at the building. Thornton Industries. A year ago, she'd never heard of it. Now it was where she worked. Where she was building something meaningful. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was a text from her mother. Carlos made the honor roll again. He says it's because he can finally focus on school instead of worrying about money. Thank you for everything you've done for us, mija. Te amo. Maya's eyes got misty. This was why it all mattered. Not just the 20 students they'd selected. Not just the hundreds they'd help in years to come. But her own family too. Her mother's health. Carlos's education. The way stress had lifted from their home. One small act of kindness at a train station. That's all it had been, stopping to help a stranger when everyone else walked by. And from that one moment, all of this had grown. Maya got in her car and started the drive home. She had class tomorrow night, then a full day of work on Friday, then a Saturday session training the mentors who'd be working with the scholarship recipients. Her life was still busy, still demanding, but now it was busy with purpose. Demanding in a way that filled her up instead of emptying her out. As she drove through the city, past Central Station where this all began, she thought about something Richard had said during the press conference. Kindness is never wasted. Even when you can't see the impact, even when it costs you something, it matters. It ripples outward in ways you can't imagine. He was right. She'd helped one person, and that one person had helped her. And together they were helping 20 more. And those 20 would help thousands in their careers. Ripples, spreading outward, growing bigger, reaching further than she ever could have imagined that night, when she stopped at a bench and asked a simple question. Sir, are you okay? 3 words that changed everything. 1 year later, Maya stood backstage at the grand ballroom of the Riverside Hotel, trying to calm her nerves. Tonight was the official launch gala for the Catherine Thornton Foundation. Media, donors, community leaders, and all 20 of their first scholarship recipients would be there. And Maya was giving the keynote speech. You're going to be great, Patricia said, adjusting Maya's collar. Maya wore a deep blue dress, simple but elegant. Patricia had helped her pick it out. A year ago, Maya never could have imagined owning something like this, let alone having a reason to wear it. What if I mess up? Maya asked. What if I forget what I'm supposed to say? Then you speak from your heart, Patricia said simply. That's what you always do. That's what makes you special. Through the curtain, Maya could hear the ballroom filling with people, hundreds of them. The gala had sold out within days of announcing it. All proceeds would go to expanding the scholarship program. Her phone buzzed. A text from her mother. We're here. Front row. Carlos wore a suit. So proud of you, mija. Maya smiled. Her family. They'd come so far together. Her mother's health was the best it had been in years. Carlos was now a sophomore in high school, still getting straight A's, talking about maybe becoming an engineer. They'd moved to a better apartment 6 months ago. Nothing fancy but safe and comfortable. They had heat that worked, appliances that didn't break down every week, enough space that Carlos didn't have to do homework at the kitchen table anymore. And Maya? She'd graduated from the nursing program 2 months ago, passed her licensing exam on the first try. She was now officially a registered nurse, though she wasn't working as one yet. Richard had offered her a full-time position as executive director of the foundation. She'd accepted, but with one condition. She wanted to volunteer at a free clinic 1 weekend a month, to keep her nursing skills active and to stay connected to the community she'd come from. 5 minutes. A stagehand called out. Maya took a deep breath. She thought about the speech she'd prepared, the notes in her pocket. But Patricia was right. She didn't need notes. She just needed to tell the truth. The lights dimmed in the ballroom.